Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar on managing shifts in peak time usage with ePMP and cnHeat. If at any point you have any questions for our presenters, please enter them in the questions box and we'll answer them by the end of the session. At this time, I'll pass it over to Director of Product Management at Cambium Networks, Bruce Collins.
Well, thanks, Olivia, and thanks everybody for joining today. We have several topics to cover in the webinar today, but really it's all about how can wireless service providers enhance their capacity and operational efficiency as we're seeing demand go up around the world with the importance of uh, work from home and study from home type of applications. So we have a panel of presenters today. So I'll start us off with some background on ePMP. Then Sakid Ahmed will go through and give his comments and show you some ideas on how to maximize the ePMP performance. And then Dan Sullivan will speak about cnHeat and give us a demonstration of how that can make installations more efficient and get your time to revenue quicker and get customers up and running quicker using cnHeat. So I think that'll be a pretty compelling demo that we'll look forward to. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things that we're seeing, and I presume and would be interested in your feedback, but we're seeing around the world is a increase in traffic demand. So what you see in the lower right there is just a very small snippet of a particular WISP. This one happens to be in Italy, but is showing the increased overall demand at their core for traffic as the people go to shelter in place around the world, and we see that increase in demand. So I would presume that we're seeing that in most parts of the world. Would be interested in if you have comments or other thoughts on that. You could put them in the question or chat window now, or certainly would love to start that conversation on the community. We are recording this session, by the way, as well, and I should mention that there'll be plenty of time for questions as we go through this. So I'm going to start with a few things about ePMP. Just a quick level set, because some of you may be new to that product. So I'll spend just a few minutes on that, and then we'll get into some of the live demos. The background on ePMP, I always like to start with this because it really kind of sets the context of what we can do with ePMP and what our customers are able to achieve with ePMP. The latest platform or latest product in the ePMP portfolio is the Epm P3000. You see that on the right. That does provide high performance based on 802.11ac Wave 2. And primarily what that gives you is three things to increase capacity. It gives you higher modulations with 256 QAM. You can increase channel size all the way up to 80 megahertz channels. But what we see most customers taking advantage of is the 4x4 multi-user MIMO. Multi-user MIMO lets the access point communicate with two subscribers at precisely the same time. So if there's capacity required or demand, that MU-MIMO kicks in and provides that additional capacity. We do see customers being able to take advantage of the higher modulation. So even if you have a handful of customers in a sector that are able to achieve the 256 QAM, you can get them on the air and off the air quickly, and that helps overall capacity. So that's one of the areas we'll talk about is the upgrading existing 11N access points is a way to increase the capacity or efficiency of the network, combining our compatibility along with the enhanced performance that you get with the Force 300 subscriber modules and the ePMP 3000. Of course, the 3000 carries with it the synchronization, which is critical for scalability. It supports uplink beam steering and then dynamic filtering, so a built-in hardware filter. I mentioned compatibility. That's important because what that allows you to do is upgrade the capacity of your network just by upgrading the access point, and you can get that immediate boost in performance as soon as you start adding Force 300 or 802.11ac based subscriber modules. So it's something that you can do day one without having to visit a bunch of end users' homes. You can do some upgrades with that. And as far as total cost of ownership, with all of the hardware options that you see here today on the ePMP platform, we support 3 years of hardware warranty. And of course, you can get support from your channel partner, whether it's a distributor or reseller that you work with, or directly from Cambium. Some of the other benefits, I mentioned synchronization, scalability. One of the things that as you go out and add new subscribers with the ePMP access points, you can go up to 50, 60. The platform itself supports up to 120, but we quite often see 80 plus subscribers on a sector. Air fairness helps by making sure that all the SMs or all the subscriber modules have a chance. They can share that bandwidth. And of course, interference, not only from outside sources, but self-interference caused by that can be prevented with GPS synchronization is a key aspect as well. Of course, we always recommend cnMaestro as the management solution for this as well. When you look at, some of you may be either new to Cambium Networks or have just been kind of considering ePMP. How does it compare, stack up against other products or other suppliers that are using 11AC? I always comment that ePMP is a standards plus approach, so it is based on 802.11ac, but it puts a layer on top of that that allows us to do the synchronization, the air fairness, and as you can see by leveraging Wave 2 11AC, we're able to do things like the 256 QAM, the multi-user MIMO, especially using the antennas that I'll talk about here today. We can support the 4x4 receiver, hardware filtering. So we've taken what you might consider as a standard 802.11ac Wave 2 and made these enhancements and proven over multiple generations with the ePMP platform. And longer term things to keep in mind is any of the Force 300 subscriber modules or 11AC based subscriber modules that you deploy today will be compatible in the future as products based on Y6 and 802.11ax enter the market. The subscriber modules that you deploy today will be compatible going forward. So just like today, if you have existing Force 180s, Force 200s, they can talk to an Epm P3000. Same thing will happen as the technology goes to the next generation in the future. Of course, multi-user MIMO is the big bet that Cambium makes, not only with our ePMP platform, but also with our PMP450M platform. And I mentioned before that we're here to support you, whether it's through our channel partners, our community, our RTMs in the field, or our network engineers and system engineers here at the headquarters that can jump on and help you so you can get your problems addressed by a direct interaction with a person. And of course, 3-year warranty helps put your mind at ease as far as cash flow and protecting that investment. So closer, so that's my real sort of 2-minute commercial on ePMP, but I do want to spend a few minutes also on how do we see customers expanding their network. So as this demand increases, whether you need to add capacity or whether you're getting requests to add new customers, what are some of the ways to expand that network? And we've really expanded the portfolio in the last sort of 18 months to give you a lot of options for what your approach is. So it's not a one-size-fits-all platform. So kind of go through these questions is, what is your subscriber density today and where do you see that growing over the next couple of years? What service plans are you offering? Are you opening up those service plans to provide more capacity? Are you seeing competition from fiber and other places that you need to offer higher level of service plans or to meet some of the government funding initiatives that are out there? What is your expansion plan? This is as much about marketing as it is about the technology. Do you look to expand your geographic footprint as a high priority? In which case you might want to get into a new village or subdivision or community more quickly and then build out capacity later? Or do you have an approach that says, I'm going to go after these denser suburban type environments and I need the capacity day one when I turn on the marketing for that area? Of course, the noise floor is important to consider, especially as you move closer to the urban or suburban environments. So you might consider things like horn antennas or directional antennas. Synchronization is really a key attribute of Cambium's point-to-multipoint systems. But if you're going for a MicroPOP application, just lighting up a handful of homes, maybe you don't need it and you can get something in very low cost to get started and get that revenue flowing and get those customers served in the real short term. And then the last question might be, if I'm on the side of a mountain trying to hit a particular community, or I'm on one side of a water towers on one side of town and I can hit that community with a 60-degree or 90-degree coverage, maybe I can get away with just a single sector. So I'll go through some of these options and give you a sense of what those are, but the table below kind of gives a simple summary of everything from a full-blown, here's 4 sectors of Epm P3000 using MU-MIMO sectors. You can see things like what kind of range, coverage area, subscribers, and capacity. We can scale that back to its little brother, which is based on the 3000L, which is a 2x2 access point. You get less capacity, fewer subscribers, but it's a lower cost solution. Then we also offer different antenna options. So you've got the Omnis, you've got sectors, and you've got dual horn antennas, which I'll talk about, and horn antennas. And then of course, all the way at the lowest price point to get started with just a handful of customers on a short range would be the ePMP MicroPOP. So lots of options there. And really what the point I'm trying to get across is that you don't have to consider an entire 4-sector tower to expand your network. You have lots of different possibilities. The actual portfolio, if you look at access points, we have the Epm P3000, which I talked about, the 3000L, which is the 2x2 MIMO version of that, does up to 64 subscribers, but is a good solution for mating up with one of these horn antennas, or if you're looking for a smaller capacity where some cost is more important. And then we, of course, continue to support our ePMP 2000 and 1000 platforms in other types of applications along with that MicroPOP. Now, when you look to expand the network with the 3000L, we have 3 options. There's the 90-degree sector antenna, which is available from Cambium. There are many 2x2 Omni options out there in the market. Cambium does not provide one of those, but you can certainly get access to those. And then similarly, that 3000L is compatible with the RF Elements twist port adapter and allowing you to interface that to any number of horn antenna options. And then on the full 3000, you have 3 similar options. You have the 4x4 MU-MIMO sector antenna. You have a true MU-MIMO Omni antenna from KP Performance. So KP Performance is an ecosystem partner of Cambium's. You can buy directly from KP or one of their channel partners to provide true MU-MIMO performance with an Omni. And then we're very excited to be rolling out this dual horn MU-MIMO antenna option. And I'll show you a little bit more detail about that, but that's really the first in the market dual horn application for MU-MIMO applications. That's going to start hitting your channel partners, and you'll have access to that around the end of this month or early May is when that will be available. We're producing those in the factory now, and they are on their way to the channel partners. So here's a picture of that dual horn antenna. The real benefit that you get from these horn antennas is the ability to cover a sector area. So with this one, it's a 60-degree dual horn sector. It also gives you really small side lobes. So you're really focusing the energy and the beam forward from the antenna, reducing the side lobe and the front to back interference that might be coming from sources behind you. So it's a perfect application for lighting up a particular direction, a community or village, or inserting additional capacity or coverage to expand that network. This happens to be a 60-degree dual horn, and it's like I mentioned, it'll be available here end of the month, early May, from different channel partners around the world. I also mentioned this KP Performance Omni antenna. So this is a true MU-MIMO Omni performance. Trials have been successful. KP has these in stock, and we're starting to see customers put these on the air. We don't always recommend Omnis. In fact, we typically recommend sectors with synchronization to really give you that full performance and lots of capacity, but there are applications that an Omni is suitable, and this is a good one. This has been integrated into the software starting with version 4.5 on ePMP software, so it shows up as in the drop-down list of options, and it tunes the air interface and configuration of the radio to dial it in directly to this Omni antenna. Here's an example of one of our customers, the wireless service provider here just near our headquarters in Chicago, Illinois. And it shows an example of how they're using three sectors or three horn antennas and kind of minimizing the sector width, because you can see in the picture on the lower left, the homes that they're reaching are all within that sort of area, but they want to offer very high capacity. So they're offering 150 megabit per second service plans, and they're doing that by overlaying laying three horn antennas adjacent to each other and covering that area. So it's another way to expand capacity and insert lots of capacity into an area. Kind of just close with a number of subscriber module options. These are our Force 300 portfolio, and you can see a wide variety of options, starting with very high gain 25 dBi dishes to small form factor 13 dBi integrated panels, and then everything in between. I'd even point out the 19R is especially well suited for municipalities, government customers, industrial customers that are looking for an IP67, and also support for some narrow channels, even in the 4.9 gigahertz spectrum, where I can use that spectrum for these types of municipal type applications. So with that, Sakid, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you make some comments, and I'll also take a quick peek here and see if we have some questions. Looks like the first question on the list here is for cnHeat, so I'm going to hold that off until Dan, you get started. But Sakid, I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter if you'd like. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead and make me the presenter, please.
There you go.
And we are. Okay. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for that overview. Looks like we have quite a few people on the call. I'm assuming some of you guys are actual operators running networks, and some of you are here learning about the product offerings and things like that. So with that, I'm going to go through a few things on the product itself. As you know, the title of our presentation is about optimizing for capacity. There is no doubt that with the increased amount of traffic on the network, as people are working from home, students are at home across the globe, you as WISP operators or partners are seeing an increased demand, and you need to address that. So we wanted to take this opportunity not just to showcase some of the products that can help you, but maybe spend a little bit of time on some tips and tricks that you could employ if you're not familiar with it on deploying the systems. What you're seeing in the user interface right here, or the product that I'm logged into, is a Epm P3000. Just wanted to show a couple of quick things that you can think about. First and foremost, very, very important that everybody running their network move to 4.4.3 release. Very soon there will be a 4.5 official release, which has been soaking in beta and testing for a long time. And it has some performance improvements, introduction of ePTP mode, etc. So upgrading your system to the latest software is step number one in running a stable network. We've had challenges in the early releases of 4.4.1, 4.4.2 with backwards compatibility, but with 4.4.3 things became very stable. If you haven't done so yet, use cnMaestro. During downtime, use cnMaestro to push the software to all of your subscriber modules. Make sure they're upgraded to 4.4.3. Once you've upgraded and you're running the network, obviously you can see things like on your monitor throughput chart, you'll be able to see performance numbers, which this is obviously a lab system, but this is where we're seeing things picking up. Things that we strongly recommend, you can run your ACS, automatic channel selection, starting in 4.5 release that will let you pick the channel, but keeping an eye on the interference levels on the channel is super important. One of the things we've seen in some cases over here in power control section, the subscriber module target receive level, this is what tells the subscriber modules how much power to transmit, and it's a level that they're trying to achieve. Just recently, I was on a network where this parameter was significantly lower, which means you just don't have enough power. So when you have uplink problems, take a look at your subscriber module target receive level and make sure this is increased. Most of you in a WISP environment are going to run 7525. As you move towards 4.5 release, you're going to see uplink antenna selection. The smart antenna support will come in, so you can leave this in auto. I will make a note about the beam steering antenna, very important note. When the Epm P3000 was our primary product, the sector antenna on the 2000 was a 90/120 degree antenna. That means it was a wide azimuth antenna, which meant that in the uplink, it also picked up a lot of interference. Therefore, a beam steering antenna with a 20 to 25 degree beam width really helped you in mitigating uplink interference. That beam steering antenna, if you have it on your network, go ahead and use it with the 3000. But the 3000 has a considerably narrower sector antenna at 65 degrees. It also has a 4x4 receive. So combination of those things, we don't believe the beam steer antenna in the 3000 will make as dramatic of an impact to you as it did on 2000. It will help you in certain cases. So if you have the antenna, attach it, use it. A few other things that I want to kind of highlight beyond the target receive level. You'll notice, let me just show you here real quick, that as I come over to quality of service, MIR support, that's already been there for a while. Nothing really to do there. System-wise, you're in not much to do there either. This is all more or less the security settings and things like that. Moving ahead to monitor, this is a key page for you to troubleshoot your network and understand the health of the network. And the most important thing that I want to bring you to is the bottom of the page where you see this MCS distribution. Your goal is try to shift the percentage of traffic on your network to the higher MCS. This is how you get more throughput. This is how you get a very efficient system running. As you can see, there's always going to be some small percentage of traffic at different modulation. Our internal algorithm is always trying to send more traffic in the uplink. When you don't have a high percentage in the higher modulation, what that typically means is either your signal levels are not strong enough or the interference level is contributing to the radio not being able to achieve such a high rate. But keeping an eye on the MCS distribution over time is key, and anything you can do to realign, do higher gain, pick a different channel are all things you can do to optimize that network. Things like retransmission, for example, a retransmission packet percentage. This is not necessarily something to be super concerned about, but when the packet retransmits go up, this is when things start going down to the lower modulation rate, and it's a direct correlation to things like interference and how many packets are being lost and how much you are sending via software. Let's move ahead a little bit. When you go to the wireless, obviously you're going to see your modulation rates, your SNR, something that we talk about quite a bit, that even with a good RSSI, good SNR, you may have interference that's causing problems in the link, or your capacity is down or quality is down. Capacity, just so you're aware, this is more or less the link capacity in relation to the maximum MCS. So if DS9 is 100%, then right now you're running at a lower percentage. I have some SMs going in and out, by the way. This is in an office environment. And the link quality represents the amount of retransmissions happening. So this is also parameters that you can use in conjunction with your MCS, conjunction with your SNR and RSSI to evaluate the health of the network. And anything you can do to move things up towards higher number is good for you. When you look at, let's see, and then down here, I had something running on Spectrum Analyzer. So this is in our lab environment. This is important as well. I don't anticipate that when you have an installer going out to the field that you're going to be doing this a lot, but it's good to see a view of the spectrum even when you deploy a subscriber module, and doing so both at the AP and the SM. So needless to say, this is a relatively busy, but I have seen much worse. The thing to keep in mind is, as you look for a channel, you see a max RSSI on that channel, let's say here, -84. So what you have to assume is that -84 is essentially the interference level on that channel. So now if you put up a radio or a link with a Force 300-25 and you're able to achieve -55, then you potentially have 30 dB of SNR or C2I, which is pretty good, which means you're going to run 64 QAM and pushing towards 256 QAM. So while we don't give you a one single parameter, what I'm trying to communicate to you here is that combination of spectrum analyzer, MCS distribution, SNR, RSSI, all of this should be used in conjunction to make sure that your network is running well. And if you need to move to a different channel, you do so. As you can clearly see on the spectrum analyzer, you have quite a few additional pieces of information. All of these are interferers, so you can actually come and down see everything we are seeing in the network. And this is a huge amount of Cambium Networks, Wi-Fi, some HP stuff here that is in the floor below us, some additional Epm P3000s, et cetera, et cetera. These are all SSIDs that are populating the network. So certainly a busy, but it gives you an idea. So if you want to pick a channel and you suddenly see a MAC address, you may be able to conclude that this is a Wi-Fi radio coming out of the installation or the home office. So there's things you can do there. The last piece that I wanted to share real quick is when I log into a subscriber module, once I do that, one of the things I wanted to show that starting in the 4.5 release, you're going to be able to choose ePTP mode, which is a very, very powerful point-to-point mode of operation that was very popular with the Force 200 product line. So now, since this is a subscriber module, you configure it as a slave. If it was an access point, the master configuration would show up. What I wanted to show here essentially is that once again here you have your uplink sector choice, but right here your uplink max rate. One of the common observations, and by the way, I should highlight that everything you want to learn about a particular parameter, you can do that by just clicking on the information bubble. It's a long write-up, but it's good information. But here, what you can essentially do is lock the modulation which means you're telling the radio do not go above a certain level. Why do we recommend this? If you have a situation where the interference is going in and out, and as more and more users are starting to use the product, other radios are getting deployed, you'll see situations where the modulation is going up and down, which will result in higher latency, higher retransmissions, and more jitter, which will impact your TCP performance. Typical scenarios, you let the radio handle this, but when you run into situations like that, you can actually lock the modulation to one level below or 2 levels below. Do this in conjunction with looking at monitor performance, the MCS distribution. If you see that it's going up and down between a couple of modulations, try locking, in the uplink, try locking that down to 1 level below. This is only available in the uplink and not in the downlink, but it still makes a big difference to optimizing the network. Last but not least, transmit power, antennas. The making a network or making a system run really well, despite all the feature, boils down to the gain of the antennas, transmit power, et cetera, et cetera. Now, sometimes too much power is also bad because you may interfere with yourself if you're trying to use the same channel. So horn antennas are a nice use case, as we talked about it earlier from a product perspective. Fewer side lobes, better front to back, directionality, alignment, all of these play into tweaking the network. And some of you know this way better than we do because you run networks for a living. We're just a manufacturer of the product. So what we can really do is show you features and things like that that we offer to help with this. With that, put the questions out there. I'll be happy to answer some things. There's more things we're doing behind the scenes to get more performance and stability. With that, I will pass it back to Dan Sullivan, who's going to talk about cnHeat and its application.
Sorry, Sakid, I'm going to just give you one more quick thing on ePMP, and then we'll hand it to Dan.
Sure.
So you should be able to see the screen there.
Yeah, it's showing up now. Okay.
So as Sakid mentioned, he pointed out several features. The ePMP software release plan, he strongly suggested being on 4.4.3. That is the release that is official and is on our support website. We have 4.5 in beta. We expect to go to commercial release and official support of this in April, yet this month. And there are several features in here that you'll want to take a look at as soon as those become available. So support for things like the beam steer antenna, the Omni. We'll also be adding 10 megahertz channel support on that Force 319R for those that are operating and you want to get to a narrower channel. For those operating in Eastern Europe, where you have access to 6 gigahertz, there's support for up to 6.2 gigahertz with the 3000L and the Force 300 CSM, so that gives you some new spectrum to work with. And then, Sakid mentioned that ePTP mode. That'll be pretty popular, and I know a lot of people use it today with the Epm P3000. That comes along in 4.5.0. So, Sakid, anything else that you want to highlight on 4.5 or 4.6?
No, I think 4.5 is the key. As always, these are committed, but we may change some things up based on customer requirements, and 4.6 may take a different view. But this is how we are planning the releases today. Yes.
Okay. And just before I hand it to you, Dan, so get ready. We do have a promotion that we're running. If you are on the call today, or if you're a channel partner and you know of some wireless service providers that are not using ePMP, we do have a promotion that we're running for a first-time ePMP user. So this would be for anyone. Today it's for North America. We just opened this up to the Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So if you're in one of those regions, you have access to this opportunity, and really it provides you with a one low price starter kit bundle of an access point, some subscriber modules, and then depending on the region you're in, you can get access to cnHeat in RF Elements antenna, and some startup support from some of the system engineers that work on Sakid's team. So really a nice way to get started. So if you're on the call today, like I mentioned, and you have not used ePMP before, this is a great opportunity to try it out. To do that, you go to this URL at the bottom right, and you can get all the information there. And we also strongly encourage any of our channel partners or distributors that are on the call today to reach out to those customers of yours that might be interested in this. So with that, Dan, I'm going to hand this over to you, make you the presenter.
Can you let me know if you see the presentation, Bruce?
I will, let me make sure I'm making you the presenter. Did that pop over to you, or did?
Hold on.
Or maybe it went to Olivia.
Show my screen when ready. That is what I want.
There you go.
Okay.
And we can see it.
Great, thank you. Let's do this real quick. Hello, everybody. My name is Dan Sullivan, and I work with ePMP. And building on the topic of how ePMP, I work on cnHeat, so sorry. Building on the topic of how ePMP helps you with productivity, especially during these times of COVID-19. I wanted to share a little bit about cnHeat and how it can help you with these demanding times for customers wanting to join due to needing to stay at home. And so anyway, here we go. So what we've heard in the from various of our customers and partners is that COVID-19, people are working at home now, and it's causing an increased demand on the network throughput, but also on new customers. The customers didn't need to have the wireless broadband before, having to work at home, and so their data throughput needs they also might not have met before, like satellite broadband or DSL. And so there's been an uptick in demand for wireless broadband, and we recognize how cnHeat can help that, and the issues that can be faced by a WISP. One, the customer service representative, being able to accurately say that we can install and with confidence, and then also being able to know when the install can occur. That's been added, magnified. Installation engineers' times are so critical now, and so you have an installation engineer who's busy 100% of the time. Now they're busier than that. Management, of course, oversees everything and works with everybody, and their time is now demanded. And of course, the equipment that is used to make the whole business go is receiving increased demand. So the solution to that that can help with this is cnHeat. And what cnHeat does, if folks aren't familiar with it, I'm going to describe it here shortly, is it helps you quickly locate the optimal location for your subscriber. And so what I want to do now is switch from the slides and do a hands-on demo. So let me do that. Okay. Here we have an overview. We have a demo site, and it is in Texas. And so what the tool allows you to do is it allows you to see at every square meter the optimal height to install your subscriber, the minimum height you can install your subscriber. So pretty powerful, right? You can go anywhere and figure out where the best place to install your subscriber is in the latitude, longitude, and height. Real briefly, if we take a little overview, we have a couple slider bars, and you can go from showing like the RSSI value that you are interested in. So say it's -73, you set it to there. It'll show you the coverage for your sites at -73. And say you're interested in just doing install heights at like 30 feet or below. It'll show you the coverage there. So you can move the height, and it'll show the coverage change, and you can move your RSSI and it shows the coverage change. So basically you can know where to install at any place, and you have the control to figure out the optimal way to install right at your fingertips for your entire WISP to use. So let's go back to this, and we'll go through some examples here. So the first example is, here is an area of coverage, and we get someone who calls in, your customer service rep, and they say, hey, do I have coverage at 801 West Tuttle Road? And you click on it, and it zooms into that address. And so what we see now is we see, okay, it looks like I have coverage, but let me lower the height here. And I go all the way down to, like, you know, I want to mount it on a roof because that's the easiest, like do a J-arm mount on a roof. And so we zoom in to 801 Tuttle Lane, and we show that here there's a home on the right, which could be the 801 Tuttle Lane. We'll just give both examples, and a home on the left. And we see that on both homes, as we keep zooming in, that there is coverage if you wanted to install on the back of this garage and also on the back of this garage. And so pretty powerful that within what I did this in 30 seconds, we can know right away that we can install this customer with the 1-foot J-arm. And it's not a simple installation. Like if you sent your installer there without the knowledge of cnHeat, you might try all these different homes, the regular home first. With cnHeat, you know, I would go right to this back left corner of this home and I can install. And if it was this neighboring home, same thing, is you could go to these 2 locations for installation, but if you went anywhere else, it wouldn't work. So that's example number 1. Let's go to another example here. We go to another address and we hit it, and cnHeat zooms into this address. And if we go to here, let's zoom into this same home, this new home. And when we have the 1 foot, nope, there's no coverage on the building. So it's like, well, how can we mount this person? So let's do it different. Let's look at this in height mode. And that's just, instead of showing it in RSSI that you would realize, we'll show it in the height that the coverage is at. So I simply move this slider up, and I get to a certain spot, like at 21 feet, and there starts to be coverage in a line right here. So if I go quickly back and forth, you can see it in the bright RSSI mode. I go to the height mode, and we go back, and there's coverage starting around 21 feet. So a really nice tool, as you've known for this customer, the CSR, I've done this also in like less than a minute. When the person calls in, and be pretty confident saying, we can install you, and we would do a little bit over a 20-foot pole mount in the back corner of your yard. Would you be okay with that? And you'd have confidence, and the installer can go out. And so instead of the installer going out and marching all around and not finding this, you found this location for an installation. Okay, let's go to example number 3. You can also do this by latitude and longitude. So I put in the latitude, and I put in the longitude. Hit return, and I zoom into the area, and there's coverage here. And I'm going to show you something that's kind of cool. Right now we have it at 80 feet, and we aren't even looking at the home. But if you move the opacity slider all the way over to the right, it gives you a clue as to what coverage you can get at what heights. If you notice below here, purple down here is like 1 foot or 0 foot, and blue is at 80. And you can see here that you would not want to install here just when you first start looking. It's all 80, but if you find these other places that are purple, that can be where you start your investigation on where to pick a place to install. So let's put the opacity down back to here. And what we do, and we'll bring the height down. And what we see here is we start to see that this has coverage from a couple different towers, one to the south and one to the west. And if I keep going down here, I can get to about 13 feet, and that's where the coverage starts showing around this house. It's showing on the roof, but you wouldn't want to install on the roof probably with a 13-foot pole. So if I zoom in here again, we can see, oh yes, there's where the coverage is. And if I have lower heights, there's actually some lower heights here. You can see the various opportunities. So maybe there's something. So what I can do based on this guideline is I could click here, and what it does, since there was a little patch there, is it says you could install at 8 foot tall, and you would go to tower B to the south. Or you could do a 23-foot mount and go to the west. But that's not kind of very optimal. And you say, well, what other options do I have if my tower to the south is already loaded? You click up here, and you can still do a 0-foot install to the south. But if I go up here, what I see is now I can see the west, and if it's not a big deal to go here and I really want to provide coverage from the west, I got an ability to install at 10 feet here. So some of the nice things about cnHeat is it gives you the ability to see the different towers and their coverages, and then you can click to see what your options are to see the values of where your distance is to the different towers and how high you have to get get a line of sight. And then it also gives you your RSSI value that you can anticipate. I can also like take away towers and have the and just show like tower A, and then I increase this, and it shows the coverage once again here at the various heights. So we can see here that if I wanted to do tower A, I can install right there, and it's only 23 foot tall. Okay, all right, and then if I just wanted to go to tower B, oh look, I'm just seeing the stuff from tower B, and I can see how to install there. Okay. So now what I want to do is go back to the slides, and I go back to here, and I'll display this. And we'll kind of go through the same slides that I had, but I did a demo with. And if you want to just look at the same place for demonstration, try it out yourself, you can simply go to cnHeat.CambiumNetworks.com, cnHeat, and demo is the account name and password, and you can see how this works for yourself. If you would like to try it out, we have several promotions going on. You can just get a hold of me, Daniel.Sullivan at CambiumNetworks.com, or you can go to the cnHeat website and make a request from us. And like Bruce was saying, ePMP is offering a promotion for new ePMP customers. And you can, if you're a new ePMP customer, it qualifies the promotion. We'll provide you a demo site for 1 year of cnHeat for you. And then in addition to that, if we can provide the coverage, we need to make sure that we have the underlying like GIS Lidar data available. It's available in most places in the United States, in many places throughout the world. And then if you just want to try it as a demo for a couple of weeks for free, we'll do that too. Just let us know. And if you recently purchased, let's say 4 ePMPs, APs, or 450 APs, that's fine. We'll provide you a free demo site for 1 year to try it out that way too. And so you can experience cnHeat yourself. So no risk to trying it out. Just give us a call or email me. Okay, so what are some operational benefits that what I just related with cnHeat Locate can provide for you? You can avoid your failed installs. You have quicker, successful installs. The installs are optimized. So what I mean by that is if you find the best place with the best RSSI, as opposed to the installer not finding that, they might find a worse RSSI, then your throughput's better for the subscriber site, and it'll be better for your access point site, so you can put more access points on your site. You decrease your labor for your install, you decrease the wear and tear in your trucks near the machinery, and really importantly is now you're doing more installs per day, especially during a busy time like this, and you can add more revenue paying customers. And a nice thing where we talked about the customer service representative is someone can learn this pretty quickly and be able to confidently tell customers and set expectations that can they do an install and what it would cost and the time frame. So really beneficial from just an overall operational efficiency and providing your ability to increase your revenue through more customers. What we have here is I want to go through now and show some use customers and their benefits from using it. And each one of these has a nice quote at the top of the screen. And this is just, they share it, and this is, and so it's nice. So so Joseph Glende of Hiawatha Broadband, they have 94 sites in Minnesota and Wisconsin. I'll show you just briefly. And so instead of sitting behind a windshield, we are doing installs, right? They don't have to drive from place to place and have, failed truck rolls or not be as as efficient. They go to the place and they are doing the installs. They are active all the time. And so why is that important, especially for Hiawatha, is if we look at an example of their site here, and these are just generic tower names, you can see that Hiawatha is all over the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and they're over to the west of Minnesota. So their drive time can be 2 hours, let's say, from one install to another. So very important, and so very important to make sure to be able to efficiently plan and install and to use their time. Back to the slides. Just recently during COVID-19 impact, they've had a 3x increase in service requests. And so giving an example, out of 180 service calls, they know 60 of them right on the spot that they can install and how to install and where. And it's helping them to avoid failed truck rolls. And another benefit they have is, hey, that technician can now do 10 site specs in a day, an increase in productivity. So, and another nice thing, of course, this is because they're able to increase their efficiency. They're able to better handle the increased customer demand and add revenue paying customers that'll be there for a long term. A second one, this is from, like I said, we can do cnHeat worldwide. This is Australia, and this comes from Redbox Corporation, and they're on the northeast coast. And what they found is their installation time for cnHeat decreased in half before cnHeat and after cnHeat, when they combine the good installs and the bad installs. And they're saving approximately like $300 per install on the money that they would have spent otherwise. And just one thing that they did bring up at the bottom is they love being able to tell the customer in advance, yes, we can do an install, and if it's a tough install up front, they let them know, so they've set the expectations in advance. Adam Platt and Keith Merrifield, they're from Iona Unlimited, and they say, I love how they say it. I sat down with them and they went, hey, we show up, we get it done, and we leave. And it's so important to them. So say that like someone on their team is out doing an install, cnHeat has now doubled their efficiency from doing 3 installs a day to generating direct revenue from 3 customers to up to 6 customers a day. And like we talked about earlier, if you look at the bottom, if you got an SM, now you've increased, because they've optimally installed everything, they've realized that they've increased their SM, RSSI, and hence their AP performance. And the last one I wanted to show was another one. This is from Sean Warsey of Skynet. We saved at least an hour surveying on all their stuff. And so they're in Greater Houston where there's tons of trees. And so because of this, they're saving lots of money on truck rolls and time, and they can use their time now to go do other things. They have opportunity cost gained. And the benefit also, again, is they're improving their RSSI and their AP performance of their system. So with that, I think we can go over to the Q&A, the questions for ePMP and for cnHeat.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. The demo was great, and it really shows how. What my takeaway was, it really shows how the installation can be more efficient, and then also I thought it was interesting the optimization of the install. Make sure that the performance is maximized, so that over time, as you use cnHeat, you're going to see a better overall performance because all these installs are going to be sort of maximized for RSSI and not just where I can get a signal.
I think
So,
Bruce, I was going to add that you can also take a look at your existing installs, right? If you want to do a rough check to say, hey, I installed these links and maybe they weren't optimal. Let's do a quick check with cnHeat. Did I install the product in the optimal location? And maybe that's another way to visit a few subscribers, improve their positioning, and therefore bring the entire capacity and performance of the tower. So that,
And to build upon what you're just saying, Sakid, you can do the same thing for your DNQs that you got before cnHeat began. I didn't share with it due to the efficiency nature of today's discussion, but when you have cnHeat and you have a bunch of DNQs, you can quickly go back and find those DNQs that really work that you can now install.
Right, right.
All right, it looks like quite a few questions in here. Dan, can you see the question pane?
I do. I am looking at the questions.
So why don't you go ahead and take the, first several here are related to cnHeat. So why don't you just go through those? We have a few minutes before the top of the hour.
Let's do that. The first one is, does cnHeat have a way of overlaying US Census data on household count with its coverage map so I can see what kind of density and TAM I have? First off, this is a great question, Mark. I appreciate the question. We don't have this, but it's something where we get questions like this, we see the value, and it's something that we can plan for potentially in the future. So the answer is no, we don't. But please keep asking the questions and reach out, and it's something that we can add as in the future. Second question, can a subscriber simulate a position different to the real one? And that's from Gabriel Mata. And the answer is absolutely. And that goes back to kind of what Sakid was getting at, is if you have a subscriber already installed, you can go look at that subscriber and you can go in that home or that area, and you can use cnHeat to simulate and verify like what its RSSI is compared to like what the actual RSSI is. And then you can also look around and try to see, hey, if I had this elsewhere, could I improve the RSSI? So basically the answer is yes, the tool gives you the control. You have 100% control to figure that out on any subscriber that you have. Third question, can I use, and this is from Mark Good, can I use cnHeat in the field on a tablet or a laptop? And the answer is you can use it on any device you want. We have it, it works on your phone. So if you have an iPhone or you have your Android phone, you can use that. You can use it on a tablet. You can use it on your laptop. So if you use your phones to do like CN Archer, you can use your phone, the same phone, to use cnHeat, and it's all in one device, and it's very easy to apply and use. Fourth question, this is from David Young. This is an excellent question. I didn't bring this point out. Is the coverage above the tree or above the rooftop or above the ground? In cnHeat, it uses what we call a digital surface model, which means it's always above the tallest thing that's there. So if it's just bare earth, it's when we put the SM height, it's the height above the bare earth. And if we have a home and there's nothing above the home, it's the height above the top of the home or the roof. And remember, if you have a pitched roof, the height will change based on the height of the pitch of the roof. So the peak of the roof will have a higher height than the base of the roof at the bottom. And then if there's a tree there, we'll do the coverage above the tree itself. And the last question, or the next question I see here is from Terry Martin. Where do you get your clutter and terrain data? What is the accuracy? We typically get clutter and terrain data from Lidar. And Lidar is, what it is it's like radar, but it's with light detection and reflection. And you're in an airplane and they flash it down as you go back and forth in an area, and you get a reflection, and it gives you an exact 3D representation of the Earth to like less than 1 meter. So that is what we're using to get our clutter and terrain data. And the accuracy is to 1 meter or less. Now, if there isn't LiDAR in your area, we can also purchase data, and we typically purchase data from satellites, photo satellites, and we do something called photogrammetry, sort of like how your eyes see depth perception. So with depth perception, you can see the heights and everything, and that's something we can get and put you in touch with the GIS provider, and they can you can purchase the GIS data from them if you don't have the LiDAR in your area. Next question from Jeff Mulvey. What is the resolution of GIS database used for the US? Does it include both terrain and clutter? So yes, it's both terrain and clutter, and the resolution is, the new stuff coming out is very low. The resolution is down to 20 to 30 centimeters. It's much less than 1 meter. And we'll do cnHeat up to like 1.5 meters of a resolution square. That's a point per every square meter. So say if it's 20 centimeters, every 20 centimeters in each direction, there'll be a new point. So it's very accurate. Like when you look at it, you go, wow, that's like a picture of the Earth from above. Next question from Farah Ayan. Can we use cnHeat for E410 and E600 model? We haven't done it, but we could do it. So if you have a need and you really, really want it, reach out to me, daniel.sullivan@cambiumnetworks.com, and we'll talk about it. But we could do it for you. Okay, let's go down further.
Sakid, I wonder if you want to use, if you happen to see that one about the symmetrical horns, do you want to comment on that one at all? May have lost Sakid. Well, why don't you keep going, Dan? We'll
okay.
see if Sakid comes back.
Next question for cnHeat, Ruben Navarrete. Do you have coverage in central Mexico? There is no LiDAR coverage in central Mexico. I have looked in Mexico. But if you want to purchase the private data, reach out to me and I can put you in contact with people who can get you the data. It just, you have to pay for it. And it's the photogrammetry data. And if Mexico were to come up and have data, we would add it to our list. I try to keep a list of countries where data is, and it should be populated on our site. If you go to cnHeat, in the supporting materials will show countries that have coverage. So. Okay. I don't think the last two are related to cnHeat.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Yeah, there's a couple here related to ePMP. One is what frequency ranges are supported. So it's primarily in that 5 gigahertz range. If you do have access to the 6 gigahertz in, especially this is parts of Central Eastern Europe, parts of the Middle East, and in Russia, we can go up to 6.2 gigahertz with particular models of the Epm P3000L and the 400 CSM. So there is options to go up to 6.2. There's also options to go to 6.1. So we can certainly coverage up to that, up to those ranges. So you certainly have those options.
Someone just wanted contact information, and I put my contact information, Ruben, so you can reach out to me. And for anybody else too, if you look at the questions and answers, that'll be there.
All right. Well, I think we've consumed the full time here. There was a question about installing 3 horns at the same azimuth. Primarily, we see that done sort of adjacent rather than on the exact same azimuth because you would need some frequency separation there. So we can maybe comment on that one offline to see if we have any other particular suggestions. But what you saw in the example on the slide was showing 30-degree horns with offset by 30 degrees. So you got them adjacent, but you're leveraging the benefit of the small side lobes to be able to align them right next to each other. And of course, you can synchronize all your access points, which also helps with reducing self-interference. So that really helps. We've seen customers put lots of access points on a tower. With enough channel separation, you can also align multiple rings of access points on that tower as well. So you have several options. If capacity is your biggest constraint, those are 2 options. Okay, and I think there's a question here about other frequencies beyond 5 gigahertz. So Cambium itself, as our overall portfolio, we have products available in the 3.5 gigahertz, the CBRS band, the 2.5 gigahertz license band, and then we have a number of new products that you'll see coming out in the roadmap later this year at sort of that 28 gigahertz and 60 and 80 gigahertz spectrum, which can also give you some options for short range links that give you an alternative to trade off between 5 gigahertz and other bands. So really appreciate everyone's time today. This is recorded and will be posted on the community. So if you have further questions about the content, please chime in there on the community.cambiumnetworks.com and share with your friends. And again, thanks for everybody, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.